Hey guys, Dr. Evan here. So for 15 years, I've been on the keto journey. I've been doing intermittent fasting. I've been doing long fasting. And I'm sure if you're a bit like me, you've tried it all. You've either tried fasting or dietary changes for weight loss or for hormone optimization or to get more lean or more shredded, right? You probably tried multiple diets from vegetarianism to keto to intermittent fasting, to high carb, low carb, no carb. And I stopped all that. The reason why I stopped that is because if you noticed, have you ever done a fast where your hands are cold or you become irritable? So what fasting does, and part of me is I pace back and forth, I'm in my home gym. What fasting does, it turns down or turns off thyroid metabolism. Now the thyroid is the thermoregulator inside the body. So once we go into what's known as a stress metabolic rate or state, I should say, then the body's in what's known as anaerobic metabolism. And this anaerobic metabolism only produces what's known as 2 energy molecules of ATP. When we're in aerobic metabolism, we're producing 36 molecules of ATP. And that's the anti-stress or the thyroid metabolism. And for a long time, I would blame my cold hands when I'm doing manual therapy onto patients. I'm like, listen, my hands are cold because I'm fasting. And I've tried 5-day fasts, I've done water fasts, I've done bone broth fasts. And it wasn't until recently I turned it all around and I went the opposite direction. And the reason why I started doing that, I found some research studies, and most of them are done by a guy named Ray Peat. And I started researching his work. And what Ray Peat talks about is how metabolism functions and why it's important for us to eat certain foods, especially food combinations, that allow us to optimize the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell. Now, when you look at it, the powerhouse of the cell, the mitochondria, needs fuel. And the fuel comes from glucose and fructose. And yes, it does come from ketone bodies, from fatty acids. However, that's a poor energy source. And whenever we tap into the stress metabolism, what happens is this: the thyroid turns down. So the thyroid gland produces hormones, predominantly T4. About 90% of the hormones produced by the thyroid are T4. But T4 is an inactive form of thyroid hormone. T3 is what sets the pace on the metabolism. And T3 actually gets converted inside the liver from T4 to T3. And if we don't have enough fructose in our diet from fruits, then the body can't convert T4 to T3. And no wonder why my body temperature was low. There was a point in time when my body temperature was 94.5. And back then I was strictly vegetarian. My body temperature got destroyed. My metabolism got totally destroyed. And slowly I built it up to 96, 96.5. But when I started adding more fructose to my diet, my body temperature went up to, the other day it was actually 98. And I started getting more lean. And not to mention that, I also started having more energy. My sleep quality improved. So by me not fasting, I started noticing my body starting to repair itself. And this is what I want you guys to try. I want you to challenge yourself with this. I want you to start having fruits to 4. And what I've been doing clinically is my patients have moved from a fasting diet or a stress diet. Now I'm having them do fruits to 4. And fruits to 4 is this: only have fruits. And also what's included in fruit is honey and maple syrup. So a delicious combination, and comment if you don't like this, but a delicious combination with your coffee in the morning is maple syrup and your coffee. Oh my gosh, a little pinch of salt. That is going to taste so good. It's also going to help stabilize your blood sugar. Now, you're probably wondering, well, Evan, doesn't glucose and sugar raise my insulin levels? Yes, it does. However, it's not a big deal if you don't have it with fat. So what happens is something known as the Randall cycle. And this cycle states that you could only effectively metabolize, because I think that's a key distinction. The cell membrane will only allow either a fat in, or it's going to allow glucose in. And so if you have a polyunsaturated fatty acid, or even saturated fatty acids, but more polyunsaturated fatty acids, the body can only metabolize either that fat or carbohydrates. So then the cell becomes insulin resistant. And so when insulin resistance happens, over time it creates type 2 diabetes. And what we're finding clinically, and some of the research that I'm finding as well, when we have fruit, it doesn't spike the insulin. It has a mild effect on insulin, which means that fruit is food for the liver. So if you ever want to detoxify, increase your fruit intake. And if you ever want to lose weight or burn fat faster, increase your fruit intake and have fruits till 4 o'clock. So what does that mean? So hypothetically, you wake up. What I want you to do is this. I want you to wake up, maybe have some water and a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. Drink that down. And then if you have coffee, don't add anything to the coffee. The only thing I want you to add to the coffee is either honey or maple syrup. I think maple syrup tastes better, but play around with it. And then add a pinch of salt to your coffee. Not till you taste it. I don't want you to taste the salt, but I want you to play around with that concept. And then next time you get hungry, which might be in like 20 or 30 minutes, have some fruit. Eat some fruit. And then only have fruits till 4 o'clock. So do not combine protein with the fruit. Don't combine any fat with the fruit. So if you have coffee with cream, don't have that. All right. And here's something very controversial. I started adding raw sugar, cane sugar, to my coffee. And you're probably like, oh my gosh, sugar is poison. And it can be. However, if your receptor sites on your cell are sensitive to glucose, or insulin, I should say, then glucose enters the cell and the mitochondria functions. So as long as you don't have it with fat, you're good. And so when you have cane sugar, especially organic cane sugar, that is actually sucrose, which is 50% glucose and 50% fructose. So it actually stabilizes the blood sugar as long as you don't have it with fat. So it's important for you to understand whenever you combine fat with a fruit or fat with a carbohydrate. Now, the carbohydrates I'm talking about are not bread, not pasta, they're fruits. All right. And you can have honey and maple syrup. You could also have roots. So having fruits till 4 o'clock, we've seen our patients lose 10 pounds in a week. I have 2 women, yes, women. It's very difficult for a lot of women to lose weight because of the hormones. I've had 2 women recently lose 10 pounds in a week just by having fruits till 4 o'clock. And then the question is, what do I have after? Well, we have after, you can eat like what you normally would. However, if you want to make it optimized, you want to make it better, what you're going to do is this. You're going to have fruits till 4. And then after 4 o'clock, you want to have a lean meat like turkey, chicken, chicken breast, cod, some sort of lean meat. And you want to have it with some fruit. And you also want to have it with some starch. So it's okay to have a potato. Yes, I said that. It's okay to have white rice. Totally fine. All right. And combine those foods together. And then enjoy yourself on the weekend. So Monday through Friday, fruits to 4. Then when you break your fast, your fruit fast, that is, you want to have a lean protein source. You want to have a fruit and you want to have some sort of starch. I love potatoes. They taste great. Potatoes and salt, phenomenal. And you just want to cut back on your fat intake. You want to get your fat intake grams. I would say initially, if you want to lose weight, under 20 grams per day. Yeah, it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. There's a point in time when I had under 20 grams of carbohydrates per day when I was on strict keto. And now I'm probably closer to 300 grams of carbohydrates per day and about 100 to 150. I think I want to increase my protein intake a little bit more per day. But my fats are under 20 grams per day. All right, so I want you to try this. Fruits to 4. Enjoy yourself. Reset. Prove me wrong. All right, test this. Try this. Prove me wrong. Show me that this doesn't work, but try it for 30 days and see what happens. All right, guys. Sempre levante. Always forward. Take care. Bye-bye.